Jules was hungry. His wife Jacqueline was hungry. Worst of all, their children were hungry.
"Papa, can we please have some bread?"
"I am sorry, little one. There is no bread. No bread at all." In the year 1789, bread was the main food of most French citizens. But a powerful drought had struck the wheat fields, killing most of the crop, so that the price of a loaf of bread had shot out of reach for many people, if they could find a loaf at all. France's King Louis XVI, in his luxurious palace of Versailles outside Paris, sympathized, but could offer little help, for his government was drowning in a sea of debt, much of which had come from financially supporting the recent American Revolution against France's rival, England. The king asked his finance minister, Swiss-born Jacques Necker, "How are we to keep the government running?" Necker said, "Please allow me to review the circumstances, Your Majesty. Neither France's aristocrats nor the wealthy Catholic Church pay taxes to the crown, so a backbreaking tax burden falls onto small business owners, and worse, onto the poorest peasants and workers. As long as this is so, Your Majesty's government is in danger of collapsing, and your people are in danger of starvation, though Your Majesty has seen fit to follow some of my suggestions on cutting costs and streamlining operations." But His Majesty, anxious to preserve his personal wealth and power, did not like his finance minister's suggestions. King Louis decided, "Perhaps if we involve all parts of the population, we can find an answer. I shall summon, for the first time in nearly 2 centuries, the national legislature, the Estates General. Surely everyone there will support their beloved king." The French legislature was called the Estates General because it was made up of 3 groups known as the 3 Estates. The first estate was made up of the leaders and clergy of the Catholic Church, to which most French citizens belonged. The second estate was the nobles. The third estate was the so-called commoners, the vast majority of whom were peasants under the old system of feudalism. After the king summoned the legislature, local elections were held all across France to choose who would take part. But even though 97% of the population belonged to the third estate, the nobles and bishops of the other 2 estates insisted the third estate should have only 1 vote on any issue, as each of the other 2 estates does. Then they locked the third estate representatives out of the meeting hall. So third estate representatives, along with a few sympathetic members of the other 2 estates, decided to meet instead in the only nearby place large enough to hold them all, a tennis court. There they voted to demand their rights as representatives of the great majority of French citizens. This moment became known as the Oath of the Tennis Court. Then royal soldiers arrived to break up their meeting. "You are instructed to end this meeting and leave," said the commanding officer. The startling reply was, "If you have been instructed to make us leave this place, you should go ask permission to use force, for only the power of bayonets will dislodge us." The king and the other 2 estates backed down, and the third estate took its rightful position of power in the Estates General, renaming the legislature the National Assembly, and continuing to discuss more changes. But soon the members of the Third Estate received disturbing news. King Louis had fired Jacques Necker, the finance minister who was the Third Estate's champion in the Royal Council. And then the king had ordered large numbers of Swiss and German mercenaries, paid professional soldiers serving in the Royal Army, to gather in Paris. These soldiers from other countries were less friendly than French-born soldiers to the National Assembly's proposals. Worried Parisians poured out into the streets. Paris was ready to explode. At a sidewalk tavern, a young man lit the match. For more titles from Jim Weiss and Well-Trained Mind Press, please visit us at jimweiss.com or welltrainedmind.com. Thank you for listening.